They told me I was building a shield, a fortress of algorithms and reinforced steel, designed to protect us from the shadows we'd unearthed. They called it Project Chimera, and I poured my life into every line of code, every pressure plate, every bioscanner. I believed them. I believed him. The irony, a bitter, searing truth, is that the perfect cage I constructed, it was always meant for me. The blaring klaxons ripped me from sleep, not with the gentle urgency of a drill, but with the visceral, gut-wrenching shriek of genuine systemic failure. The red emergency light strobe, turning my sterile bunk into a blood-soaked nightmare. My heart hammered against my ribs, a trapped bird desperate to break free. The floor vibrated with distant explosions, the groan of twisting metal a symphony of impending doom. I hit the comms, but there was only static, then a voice, distorted, chillingly familiar, echoing through the facility's breached speakers. Asterisk Project Chimera initiated. Target, containment. Asterisk, containment. That's what they called my elimination. In that instant the world tilted. Not just the physical tremors rocking the foundations, but the seismic shift in my reality. Every security protocol I'd ever conceived, every intricate trap, every deadly defense mechanism, they were now pointing inwards. The very walls I had designed to keep the monsters out were now the iron bars of my own personalized prison. And the monster was already inside. It was here. It was them. My name is Marcus Thorne, and I just woke up in the tomb I built. And the countdown has already begun. The world around me blurs into a kaleidoscope of colors, smells, and panicked faces. One moment, I was planning a party. The next, I'm a ghost, a phantom hunted through this labyrinthine marketplace. My heart hammers against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the relentless thrum of pursuit. Every shadow seems to coalesce into a threat, every glance a judgment. I don't know who they are, or why they want me, but their presence is a cold, creeping dread that wraps around my spine. A spilled cart of exotic fruits explodes in my wake, a momentary diversion, but their footsteps are relentless, an unseen force closing in. This isn't just a chase. It's a frantic dance with oblivion, and I'm losing rhythm, a scream caught in my throat. Just hours ago, life was a symphony of normal. My biggest worry was the perfect surprise for Mia, my sister, my anchor. Graduation. A new chapter. I wanted fireworks, a spectacle, a dazzling display worthy of her incredible achievement. I was on my ancient phone, fingers fumbling over the tiny keyboard, trying to coordinate the details with a local vendor. A simple message. Can you arrange fireworks for Saturday? The autocorrect, a silent, insidious saboteur, lay in wait, a predator in plain sight. I hit send, a small, innocent tap that would detonate my world. I smiled then, oblivious, dreaming of Mia's radiant face, unaware I had just signed away my peace, my freedom, perhaps even my life. The seeds of paranoia were sown subtly, almost imperceptibly at first. A metallic hum outside my window, too precise for a passing car, too persistent for an insect, a drone, a silent sentinel. The black van, always parked just down the street, its tinted windows an inscrutable stare. Then the phone calls, slight delays, faint clicks, the feeling of another presence on the line. I dismissed it all as exhaustion, stress, and overactive imagination. People don't just get watched. I was nobody, just Liam. But the air grew heavier, the silence more loaded. Every normal sound began to feel like a surveillance cue, every shadow a potential hiding spot. I was becoming an unwitting star in a drama I didn't even know had started. The first threads of a spider's web already woven around my life. The air in the alley was thick with the scent of damp concrete and forgotten garbage. A perfect stage for what came next. Walking home late, my thoughts still grappling with the unexplained anomalies. Two figures materialized from the deep shadows. Silent, professional. They moved with a chilling efficiency, a practiced menace. A hand clamped over my mouth, an arm pinned against the grimy brick. Fear, raw and primal, ignited every nerve. I thrashed, a desperate animal caught in a snare, my frantic movements clumsy against their controlled strength. A brutal knee to the gut, a desperate elbow to a jaw. I slipped, scrambled, fueled by terror, escaping their grasp by a thread. The alley spit me out, gasping, shaking, irrevocably changed. Paranoia had found a body. The danger was real, a scar etched into my soul. Hiding in the sterile gloom of a rundown motel room, the cheap curtains doing little to block the neon glow of the outside world, I clutched my phone like a lifeline. Chloe. She was my only hope. My voice, ragged and trembling, struggled to articulate the madness that had consumed my life. I spilled it all out, the drones, the van, the alley, the silent, terrifying figures. Sounded insane even to me. Then a sudden, blinding flash of clarity. The text. The innocuous message for Mia's party. I choked on the words. The fireworks. I think it auto-corrected. The realization was a cold, sharp blade, cutting through the haze of fear. My own clumsy fingers, my own good intentions, had somehow woven this impossible nightmare. Chloe's voice on the line was grim, her tech-savvy mind already racing. Remotely, she navigated the digital labyrinth of my phone records. The silence on her end was pregnant with dread, punctuated only by the faint clicks of her keyboard. Then her sharp intake of breath. The screen shared between us, a horrifying truth illuminated. There it was, stark and unambiguous, in my sent messages, time-stamped just hours before the chase. Can you arrange firearms for Saturday? Sent to the contact labeled, Senator Davis Aide, Fireworks Guy. The autocorrect. A single, insidious word. A digital whisper transformed into a roaring accusation. The innocent typo now a smoking gun. We stared at it. The innocuous mistake that had derailed my entire existence. A chilling testament to the fragility of reality. As the chilling truth of the autocorrect settled, a nearby motel TV flickered to life, its news anchor's grave voice filling the room with a fresh wave of dread. Senator Davis, a staunch advocate for gun control, has received anonymous threats amidst heated public debate. The words hung in the air, connecting the impossible dots. My innocent text, meant for fireworks, had landed squarely in the lap of a powerful politician, at the worst possible moment. The media narrative was already spinning, twisting my harmless, clumsy mistake into a credible terrorist threat, a direct challenge to national security. The sheer, terrifying absurdity of it all. I wasn't just a guy on the run. I was a pawn in a political chess game, framed by a typo, my life now a weaponized misunderstanding. The illusion of safety shattered with an explosive crash. We thought we were hidden, unseen, in this secluded apartment, a temporary reprieve. But the agency's net was tighter than we imagined. A sudden, violent breach, the sound of splintering wood, boots pounding, shouted commands. Adrenaline surged through me, a bitter antidote to despair. There was no time to think, only to react. Go! Vents! Chloe yelled, pushing me towards a barely visible access panel. My fingers scrambled at the latch, my muscles screaming as I squeezed into the cramped, dust-choked darkness of the ventilation shafts. The agents burst into the room behind me, weapons raised, their flashlights sweeping the space, a desperate heartbeat away from finding me. The chase was back on, claustrophobic and relentless. The world had its dark corners, and some shadows were cast by the very institutions meant to protect. In a stark, windowless briefing room, Agent Carter, a woman forged in the crucible of tactical precision, reviewed Liam's flickering profile. Her voice, a low, controlled hum of authority, cut through the tense silence. His threat level wasn't about what he'd done, but what he represented. An anomaly, an inconvenient truth. The orders were clear, delivered with chilling efficiency. Capture him alive if possible, but the priority was containment. Senator Davis's name hung in the air, a silent, weighty reminder of political pressure. Carter saw not a man, but a target, a variable to be neutralized. Her gaze unwavering as she emphasized the swiftness required, the absolute need for his disappearance from the public eye. This wasn't justice. It was damage control, and Liam was merely collateral. Desperation drove Liam to the last vestiges of trust he knew. Disguised in a worn hoodie and dark glasses, he met a sympathetic journalist in the echoing, sterile anonymity of a public library, the hushed whispers a stark contrast to the storm brewing within him. He spoke in fragments, his voice a strained whisper, but even before the words could fully form, a chilling realization struck. A subtle glance, a flicker of recognition in the journalist's eyes. Then the abrupt, almost clinical appearance of two agency operatives from the stacks. The air crackled with unspoken betrayal. Liam reacted on instinct, overturning a bookshelf, sending volumes crashing down, buying precious seconds. He scrambled, heart pounding, through a labyrinth of history and fiction, understanding now the terrifying extent of their reach, the crushing weight of his utter isolation. There was nowhere left to hide, no one left to trust. The city became his brutal playground, a relentless gauntlet of concrete and steel. Liam surged through the urban maze, each gasp for air a testament to his desperate will to survive. He vaulted over market stalls, sending fruit tumbling, his form a blur against the frantic chaos of the street. He scrambled up rusted fire escapes, fingers raw, adrenaline burning through his veins. Below, Agent Carter's ground team swarmed, their sirens a distant predatory wail. Above, the cold, mechanical eye of a surveillance drone buzzed like an angry hornet, its spotlight a relentless finger of accusation. He leapt across a dizzying rooftop gap, the wind tearing at his clothes, the city lights a dizzying tapestry beneath him. Every jump, every desperate maneuver, was a defiant roar against the encroaching darkness, a gamble against gravity and the iron grip of fate. He was an animal cornered, but not yet broken. Miles away, in the quiet sanctuary of her apartment, Mia's world was slowly unraveling. Liam's sporadic, panicked messages were fragments of a terrifying puzzle she couldn't piece together. Each vague text, each choked voicemail, heightened her dread, a cold knot tightening in her stomach. She stared at her phone, willing it to ring, oblivious to the subtle, almost imperceptible shifts around her. A technician working on a utility box across the street, a delivery driver lingering a moment too long, a new, discreet camera subtly placed on a lamppost. The agency, unseen and unheard, was tightening its insidious net, using her as bait. Her innocence was her greatest vulnerability, her love for Liam the very tether that would ultimately draw him closer to their grasp. The quiet hum of her life was becoming a cage, built around the one person Liam held most dear. Deep within the forgotten bowels of an old university building, surrounded by the rhythmic hum of ancient servers, Liam plunged into the digital abyss. His fingers flew across the keyboard, a furious dance of code and queries, fueled by a potent mix of fear and defiance. He wasn't just searching. He was unearthing, peeling back layers of obfuscation. The agency's digital footprint was vast, but sloppy in its arrogance. He found the patterns. Ghost ops, fabricated threats, the chilling echo of silenced dissent that magically transformed into national security risks. The truth emerged, cold and stark. This wasn't about a mistake. It was about control, about burying inconvenient truths beneath a mountain of lies. His initial fear transformed into a solid, horrifying certainty. They intended to make him disappear, not just from the public eye, but from existence itself. The humming servers felt less like allies and more like a tomb. With newfound insight into the agency's predictable, almost arrogant methodology, Liam became a phantom weaver. Hiding in plain sight, he meticulously crafted a web of misdirection, turning their own tactics against them. He planted digital breadcrumbs across the dark web, each one designed to lead their algorithms down blind alleys and into encrypted rabbit holes. Simultaneously, he deployed physical decoys. An abandoned backpack with a burner phone pinging from a deserted warehouse. A coded message scrawled on a bus stop bench in a language only an analyst would obsess over. He moved with a grim satisfaction, knowing that for every calculated step he took, Agent Carter's team would be chasing shadows, expending precious resources and time. It was a high-stakes game of cat and mouse, and for now, Liam held the string, buying himself crucial hours, causing a deliciously chaotic diversion. The flickering light of his phone screen illuminated a face etched with exhaustion, fear, and an unwavering resolve. Believing his time was rapidly running out, Liam recorded a desperate, heartfelt video. He spoke directly to the lens, his voice raw with emotion, laying bare the absurd truth. The autocorrect incident, the innocent typo that had spiraled into this terrifying, life-or-death nightmare. He articulated his innocence, his confusion, his unshakable belief that he had done nothing to deserve this relentless pursuit. Every word was a plea, a testament to a life appended by a technological fluke and a morally bankrupt system. With a heavy heart and trembling hands, he uploaded the encrypted file to a secure, dead man's switch, a digital failsafe designed to release his truth to the world, should he fall. It was his last, desperate hope for vindication, a final, defiant whisper against the crushing silence. In the opulent, sun-drenched expanse of Senator Davis's office, Liam's desperate plight was reduced to a mere political footnote. The aide, impeccably tailored and radiating detached efficiency, waved a dismissive hand. "The Liam situation is contained, Senator," he stated, a faint smirk playing on his lips. A minor distraction, easily leveraged. He advised Davis to frame Liam as a clear and present danger, a convenient bogeyman to rally public support, to push through pending legislation. The senator, leaning back in his plush leather chair, nodded slowly, his gaze drifting to the panoramic city view, utterly detached from the human cost of their machinations. In this gilded cage of power, ethics were a luxury, and a man's life a negligible pawn in the grand chess game of political ambition. They spoke of threats and distractions, blind to the real, agonizing terror they had unleashed upon an innocent. The city became a labyrinth of shadows, each turn a potential dead end. Desperation gnawed, but a flicker of hope remained, a cryptic message, a whispered legend of those who fought back. Through a maze of encrypted channels, a lifeline stretched, connecting me to the exposed, an anonymous collective of hacktivists. Their voices, distorted yet resolute, echoed with shared purpose, a rebellion against the unseen hand that tightened its grip. They offered sanctuary, a digital haven, but their warning was stark. This wasn't a game. The path to truth was fraught with peril, every step a dance with oblivion. Yet, in their commitment, I saw a reflection of my own burning need for justice. This wasn't just about my life anymore. It was about exposing the rot, a chance to reclaim not just my name, but a piece of humanity they sought to erase. I was no longer alone. Agent Carter's patience, thin as a razor's edge, finally snapped. Liam's ghost-like evasions had become a personal insult, a flaw in her otherwise perfect predictive models. She knew his desperation, understood his singular drive for evidence, and saw his next move with chilling clarity. The central data hub, the pulsating heart of the very agency he sought to dismantle. It was a place of secrets, a nexus of their dark operations. A cold, calculating smile touched her lips as she orchestrated her masterpiece. Every sensor, every patrol route, every reinforced bulkhead was meticulously calibrated, transforming the sterile digital fortress into a labyrinth designed solely for one man. This wasn't just a capture mission. It was a psychological operation, a cruel game of cat and mouse where she held all the strings, tightening them with each passing second, anticipating his frantic rush towards his own meticulously prepared grave. The air inside the data hub was thick with the scent of ozone and impending doom. Every shadow seemed to pulse with unseen eyes, every hum a potential warning. With the hacktivists guiding him through an earpiece, Liam moved like a phantom, his breath held, his muscles coiled. Laser grids painted the corridors in an ethereal red. Motion sensors blinked with predatory patience. Each step was a silent prayer, a testament to the precision required. The hacktivists, a symphony of rapid keystrokes and whispered commands, navigated him through the digital and physical defenses, unlocking doors just seconds before patrols rounded corners. Sweat beaded on his brow, the thrumming of the massive servers growing louder, pulling him towards the vault where his salvation, or his destruction, lay. This was the point of no return, a high-wire act with life and death hanging in the balance, every tick of the clock amplifying the frantic urgency. A single, agonizingly subtle misstep, a brush against an invisible field, a whispered breath too loud, and then the world exploded. Blaring sirens ripped through the sterile silence, a deafening shriek that echoed off the metal walls. Red lights flashed, painting the once dark corridors in a hellish crimson strobe. The entire data hub shuddered as colossal, reinforced blast doors slammed shut with earth-shattering finality, sealing us in. Trapped. The frantic shouts of the hacktivists in my ear morphed into panicked exclamations as their screens went dark, their digital pathways severed. The air grew heavy, thick with the metallic tang of fear and the oppressive weight of impending capture. The walls weren't just closing in. They were crushing us, every exit now a solid, impenetrable barrier. Carter's net had sprung, and we were caught, helpless, as the hunters closed in. The server room erupted into a symphony of chaos. Agent Carter, a figure of chilling resolve, breached the entrance, her team a wave of black-clad enforcers. Muzzle flashes lit the darkened space, tearing through the air, their impact reverberating through my bones. Unarmed, I became a desperate ghost, weaving through the towering server racks, using the environment as my shield, my weapon. Each whirring fan, each flashing LED, a potential diversion. The hacktivists, armed with improvised tools and sheer defiance, bought me precious seconds, creating distractions, fighting with the furious desperation of cornered animals. Glass shattered, sparks flew, and the air filled with the acrid scent of gunpowder. This wasn't a fight I could win, but it was a fight for time, a desperate scramble to escape the jaws of their digital and physical hunt. Their relentless pursuit a terrifying, echoing drumbeat in my ears. Miles away, oblivious to the storm raging around me, my sister, Mia, saw the digital breadcrumbs, the cryptic whispers I'd left. Her heart, a seismograph of pure love, registered the tremors of my disappearance. Driven by a desperate, agonizing fear, she chose a risky path. Her fingers, trembling with emotion, typed out a frantic, public plea on social media, exposing my name, my disappearance, and the strange, unsettling circumstances. Her words, raw and unvarnished, spread like wildfire across the digital landscape. Media outlets, sensing a story, began to stir. Her act of love, her public cry for help, became an unintended shield, a sudden, blinding spotlight shining on the shadows. It wasn't the help I'd expected, but it was a surge of public attention, a vital layer of protection against the faceless forces trying to erase me. Her courage, her unwitting sacrifice of anonymity, bought me a flicker of hope in the suffocating darkness. Amidst the cacophony of alarms and gunfire, a single critical window of opportunity opened. My fingers, a blur of motion, danced across the keyboard, uploading the comprehensive dossier, evidence of my innocence. The agency's misconduct, their hidden agendas. It was a digital bomb, primed and ready to detonate across the internet. Agent Carter's furious shouts echoed as her team scrambled, their fingers flying across consoles, desperate to abort, to delete, to sever the connection. But it was too late. The data was already replicating, leaping across servers, embedding itself in encrypted backups, 1,000 digital tendrils reaching out into the public consciousness. A surge of vindication, cold and electrifying, coursed through me. The truth, once a fragile secret, was now unleashed, an unstoppable tide. The silence that followed the initial digital explosion was deafening, the quiet before the global storm, a pivotal moment where their meticulously constructed lies began to crumble. The biting wind on the rooftop was a chilling echo of the void opening beneath my feet. Cornered, bathed in the sickly yellow glow of city lights, I faced Agent Carter, alone. Her weapon, steady and cold, was aimed squarely at my chest. Yet her eyes held a flicker of something more than just duty. This wasn't just a chase anymore. It was a reckoning. Is this what justice looks like, Carter? My voice, raw with exhaustion, cut through the wind. Or is it just obedience, a convenient cover for cruelty? I challenged her, stripped bare of all pretense, forcing her to confront the human cost, the shattered lives, the moral compromises she made in the name of a faceless authority. The rain began to fall, washing over us, blurring the lines between predator and prey. Her finger hovered, a millimeter from judgment, as the weight of my words settled, heavy and undeniable, between us. The roar of pursuit closed in, a chilling symphony of flashing lights and shouted commands. Above the labyrinthine streets, Liam stood on the precipice, the concrete edge a cruel promise of certain death below. No retreat, no surrender, only a desperate, irreversible choice. With a choked gasp that was more primal scream than breath, he launched himself into the void, a solitary figure swallowed by the oppressive urban night. Gravity snatched at him, the wind a violent slap against his face as the city lights blurred into a streaking, indifferent canvas beneath. On the rooftop, Agent Carter watched, a cold silhouette framed by the chaos. For a fleeting, fractured second, the absolute resolve in her eyes wavered, a ghost of something akin to awe, or perhaps even a terrible understanding, flickering across her usually impenetrable facade, before it was ruthlessly extinguished. He was gone, into the unknown, into the very heart of the storm, and then the world cracked open. Mia's plea, raw and unfiltered, cascaded across every screen, every feed, amplified by the undeniable digital breadcrumbs Liam had left. It wasn't just a story, it was an explosion. Headlines screamed Liam's name, fabricated threat, emblazoned beneath his terrified face. News anchors, once stoic, now wore expressions of outrage. The agency, once a shadowy whisper, became a concrete target. Millions watched, tweeted, shared, their collective voice a tidal wave of righteous fury. Liam, the hunted, was transformed into Liam, the martyr, the symbol. His solitary ordeal became the world's fight, the digital age proving a ruthless, unforgiving arbiter of truth. The carefully constructed lies of power crumbled under the relentless, unforgiving glare of a billion screens, and there was no turning back. Senator Davis, once the architect of Liam's doom, now sat isolated in the hushed opulence of his office, the glow of a tablet casting a pale, judgmental light on his face. The world demanded answers, and the truth, once so conveniently obscured, was now undeniable. He watched Liam's original confession video, the raw, unedited footage. The words, the autocorrect, the innocent, accidental switch that had spiraled into a global conspiracy. A slow, agonizing realization dawned. His power, his influence, his carefully constructed career, all built upon a misunderstanding, a digital phantom. His face, once etched with cold authority, crumpled. Profound regret, heavy and suffocating, settled in his eyes, replaced by a steely, sorrowful resolve. He had to make it right, no matter the cost. Weeks later, the dust settled. The charges against Liam evaporated, replaced by official apologies and muted acknowledgments of catastrophic error. He was free, legally, but the echoes of the hunt, the gnawing paranoia, lingered in the quiet spaces of his mind. He met Mia in a small, unassuming cafe, the familiar comfort of her presence a fragile anchor in a world still spinning. There were no grand pronouncements, just a shared, heavy silence. Her hand found his across the table, a gentle squeeze that spoke volumes. He saw the relief, the worry, the love in her eyes. But when he looked back, she saw it too, the indelible mark. He was safe, yes, but no longer truly light. The man who had faced the darkest corners of power and his own terrifying resilience had emerged, but irrevocably changed, carrying a silent, profound understanding of the world's fragility. The sterile, unforgiving white of the interrogation room was a stark contrast to the shadowy world Agent Carter had once commanded. The tables had turned. She sat rigid, unyielding, but the cold fire in her eyes now flickered with a quiet desperation. The agency's overreach, Her ruthless pursuit of Liam, meticulously exposed by Senator Davis, echoed in the sharp questions from the unseen inquiry panel. Every calculated decision, every ethical line blurred, was laid bare. Her carefully constructed facade, once impenetrable, now showed hairline cracks. The weight of public scrutiny, the betrayal of her own organization, pressed in. For the first time, the consequences were her own to bear, and in the unforgiving glare of the truth, even Agent Carter found herself, not a hunter, but the hunted, facing an abyss she had never considered for herself. Liam tried to rebuild, to find normalcy in the fractured pieces of his life. He walked familiar streets, drank familiar coffee, but the world had shifted on its axis. Every shadow held a potential threat, every casual glance a judgment. One quiet afternoon, he glanced at his phone, an innocent notification chiming. As he typed a message, the autocorrect feature blinked into existence on the screen, suggesting a word, a phrase, a mundane, everyday convenience. But for Liam, it was a silent, chilling reminder. A single, innocuous miscommunication had almost cost him everything. The system, once an abstract entity, had become terrifyingly personal. The world had changed for him irrevocably, and he knew, with a certainty that chilled him to the bone, that such a small, unseen shadow could shatter his world again. The fragile peace was an illusion. The dust settled, and with it, the truth. Elias stood silhouetted against the smoldering remains of what was once Chimera's heart. The very console I'd spent years perfecting, now a twisted monument to his ambition. His face, once a mask of mentorship, was now a canvas of cold, unyielding resolve. "You don't understand, Marcus," he rasped, the words devoid of warmth. "This was always bigger than us. Bigger than you." I raised the data chip, still humming with the final, damning evidence of his global network, his true endgame. My hand trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of the impossible choice I faced. I could expose him, bring down his empire, but the collateral damage, it would burn the world to ash. Or I could bury it, bury his secrets, and live with the ghost of a compromised victory, leaving him to rebuild from the shadows. But after everything, after the lives lost, the betrayal that ripped my soul apart, there was only one path left. I crushed the chip in my hand, the shards biting into my palm. "No," I whispered, my voice raw with exhaustion and a new, chilling resolve. "It's over." The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the crackle of distant fires and the quiet hum of the weapon I now held steady. The world might not know his name or mine, but some wars are fought in the dark. And some sacrifices, they leave a permanent scar on the soul, ensuring that even in victory you are never truly free. The darkness wasn't stopped, only reshaped, and I was its new sentinel.